Hey, what is going on, everybody? I'm Max here from Mamba's Legacy, and I'm joined here with a new guest, Faye Buckets. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me on.
It's always an honor to have a new guest on. It's always a pleasure. And today is the morning after the first game of the 2021 NBA Finals. I mean, before we get into the topic list, what did you take away from that game last night?
I think I just took away how I think that the Bucks are going to have to really change their schemes a lot from the past series to this series. I think in the Atlanta series, they were kind of letting Trey Young attack the drop coverage a lot, and they were kind of just living or dying by if he's going to hit 8 threes a game or not. And I think you can't really do that against the Suns with CP3 and Booker just snaking every pick and roll, or if they switch it, just attacking the mismatch every time. I don't think that's going to work. So I think they'll definitely have to switch that up. But I thought the Suns played really well. I thought the Bucks didn't play like the worst game they've ever played, but it wasn't the best one by far. I think Drew Holiday really needs to step up, but I'm sure we'll get into that later as well. And so
Uh,
that was my general thoughts.
yeah, definitely. I mean, the first thing to take away from that game is these Suns. They were ready for this game. They came in prepared. They ran their offense. They kind of ran the game how they wanted to play. And like first thing takeaway from the Bucks side of things, Giannis needs to be 100% if they have a chance of winning this series. But let's jump right into this
Exactly.
topic list. Giannis was out there, like I just said. He was cautious about him. I don't think he was not nearly 100%. He was like at most 70%. How long do
Mhm.
you think it's going to take for Giannis to come back and be impactful, big time in the series? Do you think he will be 100% coming into the ending the series?
I'm not. I don't. I won't say there's a guarantee that he'll end up getting to 100% again. But I mean, I don't think they are like looking for that. I don't think they really need him to be 100% because I mean, like you said, he was 70% last night, and there was still different spurts in the game where like he kind of dominated, like in the first quarter, and then I mean, he was still effective the whole game. I think him and Pat Connaughton were the only people who had a positive plus minus, and so I mean, I think they don't technically need him to get to 100%, but I mean, that would obviously be ideal. And I was just kind of wondering. I heard someone say, talk about it yesterday, how they thought the Bucks maybe should have benched Giannis for Game One, so he could like make sure to be healthy. And I wouldn't. I don't think that would have been like the worst idea, considering how Drew Holiday, how Chris Middleton were playing at the end of that Atlanta series, and just how different their offense looks around him. I think it might have been good for him to just sit the first game and get fully healthy for the next for game two. But that was just my thoughts on that.
I probably would have done that, but thank God Giannis didn't get injured in that game one. He actually looked like it might have boosted his recovery with how he was playing. I mean, he just looked like he was having fun out there. He still wasn't, like I said, 100%, but I mean, 20 and 17 is not bad for somebody who looked like they snapped their leg in the last series. But one
Yeah.
thing we should talk about is how inconsistent the other two stars are for the Bucks and how that's going to affect this series. Middleton dropped 29, but then he wasn't the most efficient and he's not effective really on defense at all. And Drew Holiday has been all over the place with his box scores throughout this whole postseason. Do you think Drew Holiday can turn it up coming into the rest of the series, or do you think Drew Holiday is just going to be sporadic when he has a good game and not?
I think he's gonna be a little sporadic. I mean, I think we're definitely gonna see games where Drew Holiday is gonna be like getting 20 points, getting 8 assists, like playing elite defense like he does every game, anyways. Um, Chris Middleton, I think is very wishy washy too. The kind of like the exact same way. He's a little more consistent on the scoring end at least, but I think Drew Holiday really just kind of needs to calm down. I feel like he was kind of always like getting sped up out there. I feel like he always takes like really quick shots, and
Mhm.
then he doesn't like let the offense actually set up. He doesn't get the best look possible for himself. I feel like he just tells himself, "Oh, I need to attack here," and then he just goes without thinking.
I
And so
definitely
I think
think.
if he just, oh, you can go ahead.
Oh, my bad. I was definitely agreeing with you right there. Drew Holiday is a bit quick with his shot selection. Doesn't really have a plan B or plan C if plan A is not there, and I think he's got to work on that. But quickly, go back to what you were saying.
I was just gonna continue talking about Drew Holiday. Really, I was just gonna say how like I think the Bucks offense has looked the best this postseason with Giannis kind of not playing, and I know that's kind of crazy, but I think like in the Atlanta series, whenever it was just Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, they had to step up and they had to be the guys. and they came up huge. I mean, if I don't know their like exact stats in the last two games off the top of my head, but they were both 25 plus points per game. They were both above 46% from the field. So I mean, they were scoring and they're being really efficient. And I think that if they can figure out how to get those guys playing the exact same way, integrated with Giannis being in there, not being fully healthy, they can pick up some of the slack. And so I think that's really what they're going to have to do.
They're definitely gonna do that, but the Bucks, a lot of what they're gonna have to do is change up their defensive scheme because Brook Lopez was an easy target for Chris Paul. Chris Paul had his way
Oh
just
yeah.
scoring on him. How do you think the Bucks change up their defensive scheme to counter the Suns' attack?
Well, they did that little five, not the five, like the little 5 out small ball action at the end, like in the fourth quarter with Giannis at the five, and they were just kind of switching everything at that point. And I thought that was good, but you're kind of just replacing Brooke Lopez getting attacked on the pick and roll every single time to Bryn Forbes or Pat Connaughton getting attacked every single time. So I don't know if that's like the best way to do it. I would personally just like hedge every single time on Chris Paul, on Devin Booker. I wouldn't have Bobby Portis or Brook Lopez ever switching those. And then, like I said earlier, you can't play drop coverage against elite guards in the NBA. You're just going to get killed every single time. And so, yeah, I would just hedge and then try to just get the ball out of CP3 and Book's hands. Because, I mean, if DeAndre Ayton and Bridges and Jay Crowder are the ones who beat me, then I'm just going to let them beat me. I'm not going to let CP3 and Devin Booker combine for almost 60 points, you know?
Mhm. I think the Suns team, their combo guard attack is something that we haven't seen run as efficiently as they have been running it lately. And it's really scary to watch because I've yet to see a team that can really counter that very well. And I don't know how necessarily stop this. I like Connaughton on Booker. I think that's not a terrible matchup. I do like Holiday on Chris Paul typically, but that wasn't really the case last night. If Holiday can step up his game, it's going to force Devin Booker to be that guy. And we've seen Devin Booker be that guy time and time again, but I don't think Connaughton's a terrible defender, and I think he can kind of guard him pretty well. But no, not Connaughton, Vincenzo. I can't say his name right, forgive me, but I want Vincenzo on Booker. Connaughton, I don't think he's bad either, but I think Vincenzo and Holiday have to be the two guys guarding those two guards.
Yeah, I think DiVincenzo is probably what the Bucks are missing the most because he's hurt right now.
Yeah.
And I think if he was playing, that would make the series a lot more interesting. Just because I mean, the Bucks have Drew Holiday, who's a really good defender for the guards. They have Pat Connaughton, who's I would say, I mean, he's pretty average. He might be above average. But then after that, I think the guard defense kind of drops off on their team, like Bryn Forbes, Jeff Teague. I don't think they're going to stop them at all. And so I think they're really missing DiVincenzo, and especially just for like an extra body. Because I mean, I think the whole Bucks team at the moment is just kind of worn out after just tough series after tough series. And the Suns got, I think, like 5 days off before game one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I meant the Suns got 5 games off.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think that that's the biggest takeaway for sure.
That is probably the biggest takeaway. But something that could also tip the scale is how Middleton performs. We've seen him go off for 40 points, and then we've seen him go off for 10 or 15. Do you think Middleton's going to be that guy this series that can come up in the clutch with those buckets, or do you think he's going to shy away when the spotlight comes on him?
I definitely don't think Chris Middleton will shy away. I think every series, especially even in last year's playoffs, Middleton has stepped up when the Bucks kind of need him to be. Just because I mean, Giannis, as great of a player he is he's top 5 in the league, but he's not like that perimeter scorer that you need late game situation like Middleton is. And I mean, he's definitely not afraid. He shoots it and with confidence every single time, no matter like how contested he is, how great defense is being played on him. He's always just like thinks he can make it. And I mean, some games he does drill those big shots, and then some games he just doesn't. And so I think it's just going to be game by game. And I think it'll be more interesting to see how he plays at home instead of on the road, especially with that crazy fan base that they had last night in Phoenix. I think that'll be a huge factor as well.
I think home court advantage is going to play a big part in this series, but Milwaukee's not going to win if they can't steal a game. And I believe that game 2 is going to be kind of the tail of the series. If they lose game 2, I'm going to say that the Suns have this series in the bag because I do believe Milwaukee will win both their home games. Milwaukee at home is something different, and I really like watching them play when they have the home court advantage. But if they lose the first two games in Phoenix, I really struggle to see them coming back for the rest of the series. Do you think they can pull an upset off in game two?
I definitely think they can because I mean they definitely didn't play their best basketball last night, and I think Phoenix kind of did. Despite Devin Booker not having the most efficient scoring night, I think their whole team as a whole played really well, and I think Milwaukee did not. And they were still kind of in that game in the fourth quarter. At one point, they cut it to 7, and then Chris Paul decided to take the game over. But I mean, they definitely had a chance to win, and they really shouldn't have had any chance to win with the way they were playing all game, and they were still right there. So I mean, I think if they can just fix some things on the defensive end, and then if they can just hit more shots, then I think they could definitely steal a game.
I really hope they do. I think if Milwaukee can kind of adjust Brook Lopez getting attacked, I think if they can fix something and have Brook Lopez get maybe even just a quarter of the shots taken on him erased, I think they're 100% going to win this series. But it all comes down to Budenholzer and how he can switch up the defense to make it, more battle ready for the Suns, because the Suns are just absolutely having their way. But like you said, they still had a chance come at the end of this game, and I think that's going to be the silver lining for the Bucks. Didn't play well. Giannis's first game back from injury. Holiday did not perform like he should have. This team only losing by about it was 13 points, only losing by that many considering the basketball they played. They're fine. Chris Paul, he
Yeah.
had 32 and 9 assists, though. So that's something you got to watch out for. But Chris Paul, in my opinion, I don't think he's going to be able to do that every game this series unless he plays like he did against the Denver Nuggets, where he just completely tears them up every game. But I don't think Chris Paul is going to be a 32 and 10 guy every game this series. But the thing is, I don't also believe that Booker is going to shoot as inefficiently as he did last game. But this game was very up and down. There were players that played better than what they normally do, and players that played worse than they should have done, like Booker. Another player that played a lot better than what I expected was Ayton, 22 and 19 for the big guy. That was really impressive. And then the team as a whole shot 25 of 26 from free throws. What was the biggest surprise performance from this game?
I would probably say DeAndre Ayton, just because I mean I was kind of expecting a good matchup with him and Brook Lopez down on the block, and I thought Lopez would kind of be able to neutralize Ayton's rebounding ability and just how efficient he is around the rim. Because I mean I'm pretty sure he's leading the playoff like all time list in field goal percentage, like minimum 150 attempts or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's shooting like 70 something percent, which is insane. And I kind of thought Lopez would kind of neutralize him a little bit, but I mean, he still kind of dominated. I thought his performance was honestly the most important. I know CP3 definitely took over the game. I know he shot 12 for 19 and everything like that. But I mean, to have a guy grab you 19 rebounds and shoot 80% from the field, I mean, I think that's just kind of unfair at that point. I think it's really hard to beat a team if you got a guy doing that on the other side. And then you add CP3 and Devin Booker too. And so, I mean, I think DeAndre Ayton was the most surprising. I thought Jay Crowder did a really good job whenever he was switched on to Giannis. He didn't have a great offensive game, but I thought Jay Crowder played phenomenal on defense, which isn't a big shocker. But I also just kind of expected Drew Holiday to play a lot better, and he didn't. That was a big shock for me. I was expecting him and Chris Paul to have this like great matchup and just go at each other all night. And I mean, Holiday just didn't show up on the offensive end, or really the defensive end for that matter too. And so, yeah, those are my big shocks, I would say.
Yeah, another big shot for me was how deep this Suns team was. Cameron Payne and Cameron Johnson combined for 20 points, and they didn't play terribly too much because Booker and Chris Paul took over that game. I believe Cam Johnson played around 20 minutes. I don't think Cameron Payne even played 20 minutes. They both had 10 points each, and they just the bench for this Suns team coming into the finals, I already thought was pretty strong, but they proved it again against the Bucks of all teams, who have a pretty solid bench themselves. Do you think whose bench do you think stronger? Let me ask you that. Whose bench do you think stronger, Suns or Bucks?
That's a tough one. I would say the Suns are, just because I think they have guys who not necessarily are better off their bench. I think they just have like more momentum guys off the bench, if that makes sense. Like Cam
Mhm.
Johnson comes in, hits two big threes, the crowd's going crazy, and everyone's just like super hyped for the Suns. I mean, the Bucks are bringing off Pat Connaughton and Bobby Portis. As they're like two main guys off the bench. And I mean, they didn't do much last night, and they didn't really provide them any momentum. I thought Cameron Payne was awesome in the second half. I thought there was a stretch when Milwaukee was coming back, and Chris. It was before Chris Paul had like taken over the game, and Cam Payne was just kind of like keeping the lead where it was, and just like scoring layups, threes, kind of doing everything he could to like keep the lead for the Suns. And so I would say the Suns bench is better. I think they're definitely gonna be hurt without Saric because it just came out that he tore his ACL. And so they're definitely going to be down bad without Saric, just because I mean that they're not very big on their bench anyways, and they just lost their first big guy off the bench. And they played Frank Kaminsky for like 3 minutes last night. I don't think he's the answer. I think they're just gonna have to play small. I think Torrey Craig is gonna have to play a lot more minutes, and I think he should anyways. I think he's a really good defender, and so I think we'll see more of him. But I would say the Suns bench is better than Milwaukee's, but Milwaukee's definitely isn't bad. I mean, we're talking about like how Phoenix's bench looked a lot better last night, and I'm pretty sure that their benches both combined for 22 points each. But you just felt Phoenix's 22 points off the bench a lot more than Milwaukee's 22 points, in my opinion.
I agree with that to a point. I think the Bucks bench is better, but I do believe the Suns bench, the momentum that those guys are coming in with elevates them a little bit more than the Bucks bench. I think on any given day, no momentum. I think the Bucks are easily the better bench. I love Bobby Portis. I also love Connington. They're both amazing players, but this Suns team, their bench has been on a roll all playoff long. I mean, Cameron Payne has looked borderline starter material. He looks like he might even push Chris Paul out. I'm playing around with that,
Yeah,
obviously.
exactly.
But Cameron Payne has been, I mean, he went from being cut by the Raptors G League team to now look at him fighting for minutes in a finals game. You love to see it, but I think right now the Suns bench, they have the momentum on their side. And until they lose that, the Suns bench is going to dominate throughout this series. But I will say without Sarge, that's a big loss because if Aiton has to come out with foul trouble or anything, Giannis is going to have a field day with this team.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that too. I mean, I think all they can really hope for is just when you bring Aiton out of the game, you just have to have Jay Crowder and Torrey Craig in, and just have them switching off on Giannis and just constantly just shoving him in the high post area and doing everything they can to just keep him in front and force him to shoot jumpers. Because I mean, that's all you can really do in the first place against him. But I think Aiton's going to have to be playing 40 plus minutes a game now. He's going to do everything he can and stay out of foul trouble. And I think Monty Williams is going to keep him on the floor as much as he can.
I think if Aiton stays in, I don't think the loss of Saric is going to be too known. But if Aiton does come out for any reason, that is going to be a big problem for this team because Kaminsky is not going to be able to guard Giannis. But this brings me to my last question of the episode. Who's going to win the finals MVP?
I'm gonna go with CP3. I think the media will definitely love to give CP3 the Finals MVP just because of his story, and I think he'll deserve it too. I mean, I think if the series was over after last night, I think you'd give it to CP3 as well. But yeah, I think CP3 is gonna get it. I think he might not score 30 points a game every game, but I mean, he's gonna have those games where he'll have like 18 points. He'll probably have like 12 assists. And so, I mean, that's just as effective. And so I think CP3 is going to walk out of there with it.
I also believe Chris Paul is going to walk out with this. I think this is going to cement his legacy. I think this is going to be the cherry on top of everything he's done, taking a team that didn't make the playoffs all the way to the finals and win it in your first year over there. That's just something crazy. But I lied to you. One more question.
Alrighty.
How will winning a ring and Finals MVP impact Chris Paul's legacy?
I mean, I think it'll definitely impact it. I think it'll raise his legacy for sure, but I don't think it will raise his legacy as much as other people think. In my opinion, at least, because I mean, in my opinion, Chris Paul is already a top 5 point guard all time. He's already a Hall of Fame lock. He's already got every accolade you could really ever dream for. And so, I mean, I don't think it'll move him that much up, but I think it'll definitely improve his stock a lot. I mean, just like, I mean, I don't know. He's been a top point guard since his second year in the NBA. And I mean, how many people can we really ever say that about? And so, I mean, I think it'll help his legacy out for sure, but I don't think it'll help it out as much as other people are saying it will. But it'll definitely help, in my
I
opinion.
I definitely think it's going to boost him to maybe a top 3 point guard if he wins it. That this is really all he's been missing for his accolades, and if he gets it, that's just out of this world. And I'm ready to say Chris Paul's top 3 point guard ever. But
Who's your top 3 point guards right now? Like
Magic
who you're
Johnson, Steph
replacing?
Curry, Chris Paul.
Okay,
I think he takes.
both. If
I think he takes Isaiah Thomas's place.
you think he's gonna pass Isaiah Thomas?
I have Isaiah Thomas third right now, and then I have Stockton after Chris Paul.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with that. I think Chris Paul is definitely better than Stockton. I might have Chris Paul above Isaiah Thomas right now.
Ooh.
But that's might be a conversation for a different day. But I mean, I don't know. I think they're much different players. I think Isaiah Thomas was definitely a scorer first. He
Mhm.
affected the game a lot differently. I don't think he was as good of a defender as Chris Paul was in his prime. Because I mean, Chris Paul, I'm pretty sure he's like a 9-time All Defensive
First team, I
guy.
believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane. And so, I mean, I think with everything Chris Paul does, I think he might be, other than Magic, I think Chris Paul might be one of the best all around point guards of all time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think I could see him getting into the top 3 category, winning a ring. But I mean, he's not going to go above Magic or Steph for sure. But I think he could get that 3 spot.
Definitely. But I do want to thank you for coming on real quick. And before we wrap this up, just a quick message from Mama's Legacy. We're going to be starting Cam is going to be starting her own show, branching out from the Mama's Legacy. It's still going to be a part of the network, but Cam's going to have her own shows on Mondays called Rocket Fuel. Really excited about that. Our website is up right now. If you guys want to check it out, message me on Twitter, send you the link, or we have it posted all over Twitter. And we have a bunch of content coming at you real soon. And if you want to become a member of Mama's Legacy, you want to write an article for us sometime, DM either me or Cam, and we'll set you up. And hopefully you guys would love to join us. But I want to thank you, Faye Buckets. Big, it's a big moment having you on here. Up and coming Twitter account for basketball, and I will tune into more of your tweets and retweet a lot of them because I looked for a brief second. They're pretty good. But I do want to thank you for coming on here, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
No problem. Make sure you guys follow him on Twitter at Faye Buckets, I believe.
Yes, it is.
All right. And everybody, peace out. Have a good day. Take care.